The national news this week was really depressing, so I was looking for some state and local news, and I found an interesting item in the Golden State. There's a new California law that took effect January 1st requiring most tortillas to contain folic acid.
Damn their oily hides. I can't believe this. The deep state is taken over once again. Storm must come. No, but seriously, are people reacting like that?
Yeah, there's a little bit. Don't worry, I found some controversy on it. But this does seem like a fairly popular direction. Alabama has followed up with a very similar law, and several other states have them going through the process. So do you guys know what folic acid is?
I assume it's some sort of nutrient from context, but I couldn't tell you
Is it
specifically.
one of the big vitamins?
No, I was wondering if one of you guys knew because I don't actually know. But what I do know is that it's in prenatal vitamins because it prevents birth defects.
It is also sometimes known as vitamin B9.
Right, it's one of the many vitamin Bs. There's a vitamin B52s. Let's see. So
That's the rock lobster vitamin.
Yes. We were at the beach.
It's good for virility at the Love Shack.
Everybody had matching towels. Okay, some of the birth defects that are prevented by folic acid are spina bifida and anencephaly. Basically, a lot of neural defects are caused by not getting enough folic acid early in pregnancy. And it turns out that in California, Latinas are far less likely than other women to get enough folic acid early in pregnancy.
They are more likely to eat tortillas.
But they are more likely to eat tortillas. Exactly.
So this is one of these situations where we're kind of balancing, teetering on the edge between stereotypes and statistics. Just it's like, this is statistically true, and we're not going to read too much into it.
Right, it does kind of sound like, come on, man, just like tortillas, just because you're trying to target the Hispanic ladies, but
sure,
or Latinos. But yeah, apparently Latinas eat more tortillas.
Take a stab at it? Do you want to fortify something else with folic acid and something that would come off as less racist?
Yeah, but so it turns out that folic acid is already used to fortify pasta, rice, and cereal, and it has been since 1998. The U.S. required manufacturers to do this, and afterwards, there was a big drop in these sorts of birth defects among most populations of women, according to the CDC. At least, the CDC hasn't erased this from their record yet. Yeah, so these birth defects dropped by about a third. So, yeah, Big Brother was already forcing folic acid on American women and men. And I think this is...
That's right, dude. Are we getting feminized by all this folic acid in our diet?
Exactly. So is folic acid helping us grow breasts? That's the subject of this week's episode.
I think we can thank folic acid for our thick, luscious heads of hair, right? All of our follicles. But seriously though, it does kind of sound like they're just closing a gap, right? Like pasta, rice, cereals. These are all just grain products, starches, and this is just one that wasn't covered by that law.
Right, that happens to be eaten a lot more by Latinos.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is an apparent sort of ethnic component to this one, but if you wanted to close that gap, you're going to have to rip that Band-Aid off at some point. Just take the criticism and be like, okay, well, people need to get their folic acid, and they're not always going to...
Is there criticism? Is there a pro-spina bifida
Yes, there's criticism.
Lobby?
Yes, RFK. So let's see.
They call them the ancephalaniacs.
Yeah, what kind of notable person is opposed to
someone with a hole in their head?
Someone. Yeah, RFK, his tweets about this law. This is insanity. California is waging war against her children, targeting the poor and communities of color.
How are they waging war, dude? What the fuck?
Well, okay, so not knowing anything about folic acid, my default, if I'm hearing some shit I don't know about, is being put into my food. That generally is the reaction I'd have. I mean, I wouldn't say they're waging war, but I'd say I'd rather just eat something with ingredients that I've heard of, right? So
I think they're totally right. This is crazy. What are they going to do next? Are jackbooted thugs going to suddenly start kidnapping women and children and escorting them off to camps
just
just
they're
because they're
Hispanic?
Latina? Yeah, that would be crazy if that started happening.
Yeah, but that's not
Surely
California.
surely RFK would lodge a protest of some kind if people were being swept off the streets because of the color of their skin.
Okay, for another opinion, we go to California Surgeon General Diana Ramos, who sounds like a Latina. She described this as a powerful act of prevention and care that honors our traditions while protecting our babies before a pregnancy even begins. This is one way we can care for Latino communities in California.
Okay. Hard to
I think that's
disagree
the
with that.
idea.
It's a weakness of our show sometimes. Sometimes we just read a quote we agree with and we're just like flabbergasted. It's just like, yeah, totally. And then next quote.
Usually we're talking about nonsense. This seems like actual sense. I don't know what to say.
Right. That seems reasonable, assuming there aren't bad side effects of folic acid. So here is my, uninformed opinion about this. One thing that kind of bugs me is that this is a local optimization. I looked it up, and whole wheat flour does indeed contain more folate than white flour, though this might be a corn tortilla thing. Anyway, it is frustrating that we have this industrial food system where we beat all the nutrients out of our food and then fortify them right back in. You can't help but think maybe if we just ate normal, not industrial food, then we wouldn't have these nutritional problems.
What
to
about the
begin with.
shareholders, dude? Think about it. If you take the nutrients out and then put them back in, that's 2 chances to make money, dude. As opposed to just eating normal stuff, you can't make much money off that, dude.
Anyway, despite that moment on soapbox, I think we have the food system that we have. People eat food that is processed as hell, and so this seems like a step in a positive direction, and so seems like a good one. And so do the several other states, including Alabama, that are pursuing similar laws.
This is just another thing for someone to get mad about at some point. Just seems any sort of government action is going to be a political pressure point for somebody, even if it's just a broad societal good. Fluoride in the water, making your teeth stronger, iodine in salt, chlorine in water. There are pressure groups that exist that are like, I can't believe and it doesn't even have to have any sort of backing in fact. It's just the fact that the government is doing something.
Most people don't take the time to read review journal articles, meta studies on the impacts of chlorine or iodine, fluoride, or folic acid. And so we trust in our health officials, state and federal.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it does sound a little scarier, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, because we have health crises, whatever crisis. I don't like to call everything a crisis. We have big systemic health problems in this country that many came about because corporate greed meets the government not doing its job to protect us. And so
Truly, you can just shorten that to corporate greed because, the government not doing its job is because corporations are bribing them not to.
I don't know. I mean, that contributes, but there are other reasons the government doesn't do its job. So
this will be an expense for companies, right? Like folic acid doesn't grow on trees, though I guess theoretically it must.
It grows on wheat.
It grows on wheat. Well, it grows somewhere. It does grow in some things, but they have to buy it, right? Like if they want to fortify food, they have to buy it, and presumably have to hire people to test that they're putting in the correct amount of their food.
So, I think regulatory capture is an example of stuff that costs the big companies money to do, but also makes it so the small guys can't even compete, makes it so that the whole thing is too expensive for small competitors to enter the market, right? So just the fact that implementing or satisfying some new regulation, the fact that costs money doesn't mean that lobbyists wouldn't push for it. It probably doesn't cost that much money to do it. But yeah, we don't know the background of California Surgeon General Diana Ramos. Maybe she's a
part of big folic acid,
big tortilla. Maybe it's all a sham, like RFK says. So that's frustrating. And most people, there's the whole laziness factor or better things to do factor than reading these meta studies, but also most people are not equipped to read these studies. It's not exactly Harry Potter. So anyway, we hope that they're doing what's in our interests, but that hope is, I think, becoming less true over time. I don't trust the RFK has my best interests or my children's best interests at heart. I do remember learning about some of these other things, especially iodine and salt, how just, these things are some of the reason why our life expectancy has gone up, why our economic productivity has gone up, why our IQs have gone up, is because we do these simple things at a large scale to take care of our health.
Did you know if you don't get enough iodine, you're medically a cretin? That's what the term is for someone who suffers mental problems from iodine deficiency. That's where the term
I did
cretin
not.
comes from.
Didn't know that.
Cretinism.
A
Cretinism.
little sneak preview for tomorrow's episode, but iodine is good for radiation poisoning.
Nice. Anyway, well, I trust the states more than I trust the federal government right now. And if several states are passing these laws, then I've got a good feeling about it. And also, folic acid is indeed in the prenatal vitamins that my wife took and that, many pregnant women take. And so I'm not that worried about it. I think it probably is exactly what the Surgeon General says. A powerful act of prevention and care.
We want to hear what you think. So use your well-formed neural tubes and leave a comment.
All right, catch you next episode.